Hi, my name is Eric Debai, and this is my final project for my Web 110 course at Harper College. In this video, we're going to download and install Visual Studio Code as a first-time user, clone our Bitbucket repository into Visual Studio Code. We're then going to create some quick HTML and CSS changes, and then push that new code into our existing Bitbucket repository from Visual Studio Code. We're then going to go over some extra stuff like helpful extensions, theme installations, and then Emmet using HTML. That being said, let's get started. So you're going to want to navigate over to this website, code.visualstudio.com. You can also find it by Googling Visual Studio Code. And then this website has a lot of stuff about, the different parts of Visual Studio Code and, all the good stuff. Tells you all about it. You can also look at the docs and see how to use certain parts of it. We're just going to go ahead and download it using this big blue button. It should recognize your OS straight away. In case it does not, however, you can hit this down button and there'll be versions listed for each OS, including Mac, Windows, and Linux, which you can then download using these blue download buttons. I'm going to go ahead as a Windows user and hit this big blue button. And then this save file should pop up, and then it should start saving our file. Once downloaded, go ahead and open that. And it'll bring up this license agreement. You should read this. I've read this before. It's your standard fare, however, and so I'll say accept this agreement. Go ahead and create a desktop icon if you want. This isn't a default checked option, so I'll point it out in case you want that. Hit next. Hit install. Installation should go fairly quickly. And then once it's finished installing, go ahead and launch it right away. And this is what it should look like. We're on a Get Started tab. You will not have this recents here. I have downloaded this previously, and so I have recent projects that will pop up. But everything else should look the same. Go ahead and minimize this, and then make your way over to your Bitbucket repository that you wish to clone. Now, in mine, we have a README and index.html, and I don't have much in it. I just have the header. I've linked my CSS style sheet. Nothing crazy. We're going to go ahead and hit this clone button in the top right hand corner, and we're going to copy this link. We're not going to copy this git clone here, but just this link. We're then going to go back to our Visual Studio Code, and then we need to access the command palette. There's two ways to do this. One is to hit View in the top left corner, and then Command Palette is the first option. This bar should pop up. Alternatively, you can hit Control-Shift-P and the same bar will pop up. You will type in git, and then a whole bunch of options will come up. You're going to hit the git clone. We're going to paste our repository link into there. You're going to need to choose where to save this. I'm going to save it on my desktop. And then once that's begun down there, you will need to log in to your Bitbucket account using this box up here. I have my password saved right here. Do not try to hack me. I've already changed the password by the time I've put this up. So once we put our password in there, we can then on the bottom here, select open. And right away, you will see all of our code, which is pretty cool. So we can then go ahead and change whatever we want. So right now, it's nothing too crazy, but we can then add an H1 element, for instance. We'll add a class of main to that, because that is my already open one. And then we shall go ahead and just say something like hello world. This is my first HTML edit. And then we can open our CSS as well. And let's change some things. So we can do something like change the font size. So we can make that, I don't know, 50 pixels. We can change the color. I always like thistle. Nice dusty purple. Yeah, let's just go with that, right? And so these are our changes. We can close that. And then as you see in this corner, we have a couple of options. So number one in our default is our Explorer. So that's going to be our file directory, all the stuff you have in your project. You're going to have a search, so you can search and replace things. You're going to have this, which is our source control. And this is where the magic happens. These changes, every file change that you make gets tracked. So for instance, if I changed our README, so I just, who do I talk to? And I include my name. That change is going to be illustrated in these changes. Now, to make these permanent in our repository, we're going to go ahead and hit this plus here and stage them all. So now all these changes we've acknowledged are ready to be pushed when, we want them to be. We'll add a message, and messages are pretty important. They, tell you when you're looking at different versions that you've, pushed to your repository, what you've done. So here we're going to say added h1 element to index.html. Something simple. Obviously, the more you change, the more general you're going to have to get. But this one's, pretty clean. And then we're going to go ahead and hit this check mark up here, and that commits these changes. Then we're going to hit this big blue sync. And voila, there you go. Now, some of you, this might not work quite as easily. And if you're having a trouble here, it is because your configuration file is not perfectly set up, and it wants you to, reevaluate who you are each time. And there's a quick way to fix this. We're going to hit terminal up here, new terminal, and then you have to do this while in your project. And so we're going to basically be in our command line for this project. And then we're going to copy and paste these commands into the terminal. And when you do this, I'll put these files in the description of the video, but this needs to be, of course, your password. This needs to be your username, and this needs to be your email address. This will make it so it doesn't re-ask every single time you want to push something to your repository, which is much nicer if you can just hit the big blue button than retyping all your information is, particularly if you have strong passwords like I do. And then we can go ahead and minus this, and we can exit out of this now. Then once we reload, we can go to our index, and here we are. This is our edit, right? We go to our style.css, we can see that font change and color change applied. And last but not least, if we look at our README, my name is now right down here. And so, yeah, there we go. We've pushed things to our Bitbucket repository. Now, that is one part of Visual Studio Code that is nice. There are a few other things. One is that it supports extensions, and so that's what this button down here is. There are many, many extensions, but there are a few of them that I like using just day to day. And so we're going to go ahead and install some of those. Some of those include Image Preview. And that's this one here by Kiss. What this allows you to do is when you link an image into your HTML document, in this little sidebar here, it'll give you a very tiny thumbnail of that image, which is very helpful if you have lots of images. So go ahead and hit install. Another one I like to do is Svg Preview, which allows you to preview SVGs. I use this one by Simon. And then this one don't be in the little gutter there. It'll actually be in a separate tab. But yeah, and as you open SVGs, it'll pop up through there. Very nice to have. One thing, another good HTML one is auto rename tag. And that'll be this one here. And so this one is something you'll find at the Visual Studio regular version. So code is more like the freemium version. Visual Studio without the code tag is a full-fledged IDE. And so one nice thing in there is that it'll automatically change the beginning tag when you change it to the end tag. So if you decided, well, actually, we just installed it. So now if I change this here to a 2, it'll automatically change this backend to a 2. And instead of you having to go manually, change the start and the stop tags to each one. Lastly, we're going to install something called Live Server. And this one's super nice. It's by Ritwick Day. You're going to go ahead and install it. And then what this does is when we're in our HTML, we can close this terminal now. It'd be nice to see this on a web page, And so what we can do is down in this bottom left corner, we have this Go Live button now added. And when we hit it, it'll pop up here as our HTML document. And so one thing I like to do is if you hit the Windows button and then the arrow pad, left or right, you can address them like this, and then you can code side by side. One thing I just realized is, as you can see, this is not thistle colored, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. Oh, I see. It's because I misspelled style there. It's styles, but it's actually style. And so there, you will automatically see changes be applied. So it doesn't matter what it is. So say we're in our CSS, and we want to make this color, let's just say something terrible, like orange red, and it will automatically change this. The best way to use this one is actually to pair it with this autosave feature here, which means that every time there's a change, your file will autosave, which then triggers the live server to automatically change to this. Yeah, well, we'll keep it like this. And then, we can go in here and, push this fixed code to our repository. So we'll stage these changes. We'll write a message that just says fixed CSS link and changed title color. Something short, something sweet. We'll go ahead and commit those and sync. And voila. And that's changed now in our Bitbucket repository. If we reload this, open our index.html, let's see clearly here it says style, not styles, and so that's changed. Some other things I like is I don't personally like this theme here, and you can change that to some other default themes. If you go back to the command palette, you type in color theme or just color, and then it'll open here, and you can use the arrow pads to look over different themes. But you can also go ahead and download themes as extensions too. So one that I like is Cobalt 2. That'd be this one. When you hit install a theme, it'll be right away. And that just, nice contrast, dark colors for me. And then the last thing I want to, I think because I had that open already, it did not like me changing it, but there we go. The last thing I want to go into is something called Emmet. And so there's a lot of different ways to use Emmet. I really encourage you to Google it. It's Emmett, I believe. I could be wrong there. But say we have another index.html file, right? So let's name this index2.html, which is not great naming, but so now, instead of like copy pasting this part here, right? What we can actually go in here do is press this shift and then the 1 to get an exclamation point, and you'll get this Emmet abbreviation. And right away, it fills out the entire thing. You can tab through and change the title of this document. So you can title this, for instance, demonstration and spelling today, not on my good side, but there, demonstration 2. We would have to link another style sheet again. So that is the one thing it will not do right away. Style sheet. Yeah, I was going to say, I think I need a href tag there. Href style.css. And then we've linked that there. That is one small application. Another one would be if you wanted to include anything at all, any tag in this body, we can write h1 dot, and then the next thing you write will be the class name. So let's make this main2, for instance, right? And then you hit enter, and now your class is automatically written. So we can write this is page 2. And so now that we have that set up, we're going to go here and add our class. So main2. We can change the font size on this one. Let's make it something obnoxiously large. And then let's make the color, let's make it orchid or something like that, right? Nah, let's olive drab. It's a good color. And so that's all good. We can then go to index 2. We can go live. This will close the one you already had open, but that is okay. And so yeah, this is page 2, giant and an olive drab. We can go ahead then, and if you're not there already, go back to our Git. We can go ahead and stage these changes. We can say added index2.html, and then we can go ahead and commit and sync. Voila. So now if we go back to our Bitbucket, we refresh, we'll have this index 2. And then if we go to our style.css, we'll have our next CSS class in there. And yeah, Emmet has a lot of different functionalities. In addition to just creating classes, you can create lists where each class name has a different number to it. So definitely Google that. Definitely can help you code much quicker. Well, thank you for watching. I hope this helps. And yeah,